right, everyone. Welcome once again to the Manufacturing Ecommerce Success. I'm your co-host, Damon Pasolka, and I just want to say we are so excited today because, first of all, we've got a new director, Gunward Ardu. Now, our director, we're so happy to have him, and you know what? He's cheap. He works for Kibbles and Treats. It's quite a deal, but enough about our new director and the show, the way the show is going to happen, the flow of the show. We're so excited about that today. I need to turn it over to my host, Curt Anderson, my co-host, Curt Anderson. Oh, excuse me, wrong way. Curt, take it over, man.
Hey, Damon, thank you, brother, man. This is just such an honor, such a thrill. The smile on my face just says it all. I am just so excited for today's program. Our guest today, I don't know if she even needs an introduction. Our guest today is the one, the only Allison DeFord. Allison, happy Friday, my friend. How are you?
Fantastic. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, this is such an honor. Guys, if you're not familiar with Allison DeFord, and man, I can't imagine that you're not. I want to just, first off, I have to give a big warning. Okay. First off, this show is very serious. If you've never come to our program before, this show is very serious. Okay. So the warning today is if you are drinking any fluids while Allison is speaking, I encourage you to swallow those quickly because they're going to end up on your keyboard because Allison is just that funny. Number one. Number two. So Allison is the founder of Felt Marketing. She is a marketing trailblazer. She is just a fierce branding guru. She runs this awesome, amazing podcast. Allison, tell us a little bit about yourselves because I could go on all day long.
Well, I'm not sure I can live up to the hype, but thank you very much. The honorary president of MFG Out Loud, Curt Anderson.
It's me.
Yep.
Should we have Gunward change the camera now?
Gunward's changing the camera position now. He just gave me the okay in the back that he was adjusting. He realized he was off a little bit.
Okay, let me fix my hair. Go ahead, Allison.
Would you please? Felt Marketing. We've been around since 1994, and most marketers waste time and money on marketing that doesn't grow sales. And I got tired of hearing the same stories over and over of them being taken advantage of, or we tried this and it didn't work, or we're spending all this money and we're not getting results. And so if you connect to the heart of your ideal customer, that's how you're going to make sales easier and more profitable. So that's what we do. We come in and we help you do a marketing retrofit. We create a system and connecting with emotional engagement. That's what we've been researching for over a decade, and it really works, like tapping into that 90% of the brain, right? Instead of 100%.
This is absolutely awesome. Well, Allison, let me just drop a couple of things again, just for folks that are coming on that there might be one or two people that are new to you. So let me just tell you a little bit about my friend Allison DeFord. So Allison, this is a great LinkedIn success story. So Allison, I was on LinkedIn one evening, and there was this post came up. And I read this post, and I was a victim. I was a victim. I was drinking something, and Allison, hands down, it wasn't an all-star post. It wasn't a post of the year. It was a Hall of Fame post. I still remember it vividly. I burst out dying, and it's one of the funniest posts that I've ever seen. Her and I connected. We've been fast friends ever since. My soul sister, just love her dearly. We've done a wonderful business together. And as a matter of fact, she is a great speaker. So for anybody, any of you guys out there, we do a lot of webinars, trainings, and Allison is one of our rockstar speakers. So what does she do on Wednesday, 48 hours ago? She does a gig at Temple University. This big, we have a great program at Temple University. It was so popular. I get this email in my email box this morning. Not only do we want Allison back, we want her to do the exact same program again, Damon Quote, because it was so good. She's done programs at University of Nebraska, IMEC, Allison, you have your MFG Out Loud podcast, which you just have amazing rock stars with your brother, Raisin Ganto.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit, like, what's your magic potion? Like, you're in such high demand with these webinars and these workshops. Tell everybody, just give everybody a little nugget or a taste. What is your silver bullet there? Why are you so good?
Wow. I think it's one of those things that, I got to be honest with you, for most of my life, especially adult life, I hated my voice. And I went to a weekend workshop with my former business coach, Peleg Top, who was fantastic. And we're sitting in this room of like 25 people. And we had to talk about what we were most afraid of. And I said, using my voice. Right? I'm afraid of like imposter syndrome. I'm afraid I don't like the way it sounds. I hate myself on video. And it was just this awful self-loathing. And so we had to do homework that night because we spent the night there, and we had to go back to our room, and we had to, I had to write a little script, and I had to like come back the next day, and I had to use my voice. So I sat down on this couch in front of all these people I don't know, who are all really talented, and I did my spiel, and they all were like this. And I thought, oh God, this was really bad. And they all just burst out clapping, and they said, girl, it's like we were sitting here with Oprah. And I'm like, oh, wait, no. And they said, you must use your voice. So, honestly, I started, Ray and I were talking in 2018, and we kept having these change the world conversations. And I said, you know what? I go, we need to put this out there, right? And we could have guests come on and like talk about the stuff that people are afraid to talk about. We need to say it out loud. Mm-hmm. And he was like, okay, what are you thinking? And I'm like, we need to do a podcast. And he said, great. Do you know how to do a podcast? And I said, nope. I'll figure it out. So that's what we did, MFG Out Loud. And it's all about courageous conversations about marketing and sales for manufacturers. And we have on the most amazing guests like you two. And it's just been the most profound thing I think I've ever been a part of so far, and until Manufacturing Masters, which we'll talk about.
Absolutely. So this, man, great segues. Let me plan this. So MFG Out Loud is absolutely an amazing podcast, guys. If you haven't heard it, strongly encourage you, invite you, welcome you, implore you, check out MFG Out Loud. Awesome podcast. I was just talking to our mutual friend at the Nebraska MEP, Joe Roy. I know he was one of your recent guests. You have amazing guests, great conversations. And I know I love how everybody's using like word of the year. And I'll tell you, Allison, we goof around, we have tons of fun, but man, you know, I love you from the bottom of my heart. The word for you when you come to mind is courageous. You are just so courageous. You're inspiring. Your posts are inspiring, snarky, funny, brilliant, all these other things. You know, again, I've had the honor, blessing. You've pulled me in on projects. You've done great speaking for us. So let's segue into this. Okay. So now word of the day, or my word for you, courageous. How about letter of the day? Now, let me share this with you. I don't know if you guys know this. My wife is a preschool teacher. And so it's common, hey, kids, today we're going to have a letter of the day. So when you're married to a preschool teacher, I frequently hear, okay, Curt, let's practice being a good listener today. All right, you're a little cranky. It's time for nap time, but that's another story. But how about, Allison, if we went with the letter B, what are some words for the letter B today that you would, if I just said letter B, what are you thinking?
Be brave.
Oh.
Be bold. And brilliant.
Okay. Let's say those again. So be brave, be bold, be brilliant. How about one more? How about
badass?
Badass. There you go. I knew you had one more in you. So, all right. So let's go. Let's segue into like when you're working with manufacturers. I know we were talking about like maybe like a little 5-pronged approach that you have with your manufacturers. You want to kick off there? Let's talk like manufacturer that's struggling with their voice, their branding, their messaging. Where do you start? Let's take them on that journey.
Well, I know we're talking about crushing your goals in 2022. And I thought I would start with some wisdom that I heard this last week from Brendan Burchard. If you don't already, subscribe to the Growth Day podcast or app. Sorry, it's an app and it's fantastic. For personal development, he comes on and he has these daily fires on Growth Day. And so he said, he works with a lot of high level CEOs, Olympic athletes, you name it. Mm-hmm. These people make a lot of money. And he said, they always seem to start with the numbers when you're talking about goals, like, okay, hey, last year I made $10 million. So this year, do I want to make 12, 20? What number do I want to go with? What number makes sense? And Brendan said, when you focus on the numbers instead of the why, how do you know when enough is enough? And I thought, ooh, that's really good. So I wanted to give you a really, we're looking at things on a macro level, a micro level story that just happened recently. And so client reached out to me and he said, hey, I'm really happy with the social media content that you guys have been doing for us, but I'd really like to increase our followers this year. And I said, okay, of course, because we've been having really great gains over the last year. And he said, in looking at, how on LinkedIn, you can look at analytics, right? And you can look at what your competitors are doing and where they're at. And he said, our closest competitor, who's about the same size, has twice as many followers. So we want to double. Yeah. And I said, okay, well, let me take a look, because I'm a fan of the numbers don't lie, right? And so I looked and I got back to him and I said, it's interesting. They have twice as many followers as you do. And they have 3 times as many employees on LinkedIn. And I said, ironically, they have this many posts. They have this many videos. And they have this many articles. I said, you know what that means? Their 2,000 whatever followers doesn't mean shit. Yeah. Because no one's hearing from them. No engagement. So somebody hit like or follow, and then they get nothing. So I said, you would rather have, and this is many people in the world today are talking about this statistic, and I totally believe it. You would rather have 100 ideal fit, perfect, made for you followers than 1 million who could give a crap about you. Or like on Instagram, why let's go buy 1,000 followers. Let's buy 10,000. Why would you do that? So I'm a fan of, don't start with the numbers, start with why. Why do you want to do this? And who are we doing this for? So I think that's the most important thing that I help manufacturers do in the beginning of any conversation. Great. Why do you want to do this? Why do you want more followers? So you can show it on a report at the end of the year? Right. Or is it because you want to achieve something? Like, what's your mission? Right. And how are you going to help them get to their hero state? And how do you want them to feel? Right. That's my favorite question, because I get this. What? How do you want your customers to feel? They all look at each other and they're like, I don't know. And I said, well, that's what we need to figure out first. So if you know why and you know how you want people to feel, it's like reverse engineering. Yeah. So then you can create the strategy, the plan, and the substance to then turn up the volume and market on behalf of and for people instead of at them.
Right. And, man, Oh my God, this is so good. And this is like our 1 year anniversary. You were on the program a year ago, I think this week actually, Allison. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, like your program was, how to make your customer a hero of your story. I tell you, that has been such a game changer for me. Thank you. Owe you immensely. That hero state. So you threw out hero state. So anybody that's, I can't imagine anybody meeting you for the first time here. But if somebody's new to this concept, hero state, if you don't mind, let's take a little dive into that. What is that hero state? How do you help that client make that hero state a reality?
Well, you know how I always talk about no one cares about you. They care about them. We all care about our own selves. So if you are really in tune with who it is that you are trying to be of service to,
right,
then you know what keeps them up at night, what drives them crazy, what is a motivation for them, right? Yep. And so if you know what someone's hero state, for me, every single one of my manufacturing clients, their hero state is growth. It's growth and helping their customers succeed. So if you know what your customer's hero state is, then you can guide them. Donald Miller, who wrote Building a Story Brand, which is brilliant, he talks about this and he said, it's like they're Luke Skywalker. Like every great movie, right, has a hero and a guide. There you go, story brand. It's brilliant. So the beautiful part of every story is that the hero transforms. So if you can show your customers, number one, I see you and I feel you, right? And so you're showing them that you're relevant and you get them, and then they can see, this is what's in it for me.
Right.
I'm going to solve this problem and I'm going to transform, and this is what it's going to look like. So if you can plan your marketing and your sales strategy to get to that point, to help them get to that point, it makes everything so much easier, like 100 times easier.
So go ahead, Damon.
Well, it's amazing. I mean, and the way you just shared it, Allison, is so true, because if you look at it that way, you understand how you're going to make your customers successful and then develop that content around it. And in the exact phases you talked about, blump, 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 and then how they're going to look after doing whatever with you is so cool, because it does just allows people to come into the story and imagine themselves walking through the process with you and imagine themselves in the end going, yes, we've solved this, or we've achieved this, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it just when you see it done well, it is pretty amazing.
Well, think about like Weight Watchers. I think that's a great example, which is now called WW.
Yeah.
They, when you go on a site like that, or you get an ad from them, they don't show you a grossly overweight, out of shape person. They show you your ideal state. So like weight loss companies are brilliant at this, because you see that and you think, yeah, I want to look like her, And so I think it's kind of like that. It's the transformation. I love that word.
The digital transformation. So
the transformation.
So for anybody that's, again, hasn't been to one of your webinars, man, and boy, I encourage everybody, if you haven't caught one of Allison's workshops, you have to check her out. So Allison, the ultimate favorite line of all time. I did a little blog post on you last week. As a matter of fact, I have a part 2 coming out next week. This awful, dreaded disease that is plaguing the world. It's like a pandemic. It's this dreaded syndrome. For anybody that's not familiar with this syndrome that we all suffer from, when I met you, I went through my website and it was everywhere. Can you please enlighten, what is this dreaded disease that's going on?
Yes, it's the Weewee Syndrome. And it's funny because now I was talking to a client yesterday and she started saying my words back to me. I thought, this is fantastic. And She said, yeah. I said, well, do you think that those social media posts have been working well for you? And she said, no. And I said, well, do you think it's because they're covered in Weewee? And she goes, yeah. And I said, okay, well, the good news is it's curable, right?
Yeah.
We've all had it. It's so easy to focus on your own navel and be enamored with it and then want to tell everybody, look how great it is. Do you see this? Do you see my navel? Do you see what it can do? And it's just, yeah, it's so easy. And so I tell people, do the 5-second speed test, go to your website and see how many times you say we.
Yeah.
And you're going to go, oh my God, it's a lot. Like I'm really sick with this syndrome. So what do you do about it? You got to flip the script and you got to talk about, you. So when someone sees the word you, they immediately are locked in and they think, oh, that's me.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
What I get. Okay. So if you just flip the script, doesn't mean you can't talk about yourself. Right. But if you lead with the customer and you lead with you, it would be much more interesting for me to sit here and talk about how I could help Damon and Curt transform than for me to sit here and tell you, well, Felt's been around for this long and we have this many clients and we do these things, but that's what we all do, right? We want to talk about what it is we do and our shiny products. And it's just like in an ad. I tell people all the time, I'm like, and for years, manufacturers have, especially if you're a contract manufacturer, you want to show every part that you make
ever made. Yeah.
All polished and it's in like a pattern. And that's the whole ad. And I'm like, that's not motivating. No one cares. Yeah. Your tolerance is X. Okay. That might appeal to me. Right. What is that going to help me do? I said, what if you show people? And they go, we've never done that. Okay, let's, so again, it's all about that emotional engagement.
Right.
So if you flip the script from we to you, that's going to be the first thing that will change the conversation.
Right. So guys, tip of the day, please go to your social, go to your website. How many times are you using the word I, right? I always like to say, hey, unless we're pirates, we don't say aye, aye, captain, right? Arr, matey. So how many times you say the word I? How many times you say our? How many times you say the word we? So let's flip the script, make it all about them, our ideal clients. Now I know you love your brand guru. You love. We were talking about a great brand before we jumped on live. Mm-hmm. Some great manufacturing brands. What are some brands that you admire, that you love, that you feel are just absolutely crushing it and doing it right?
I'm a huge fan of Yeti.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nike. Duluth Trading Company.
Oh yeah.
Big ass fans, which we were talking about earlier, and Gerber knives.
Yeah.
And it's funny because Donald Miller shares the story about Gerber knives. Mm-hmm. And I think that this ad campaign they did was brilliant because it started off with, hello, trouble. And I thought, what? I got to know more. And they spoke in the ads as if they're speaking to that side of you, right? That's like, I don't know, I'm from the Midwest. We say ornery, or that side of you that's, the risk taker. Hello, trouble. And it's something that you never see this anywhere. So it gets your attention, but it immediately taps in to that emotional side of the brain. So yeah, those are some brands that I love it when a brand, you can't wait to see their stuff. Mm-hmm. And it just feels very personal.
Right.
Yeah.
And the great thing is, like, small manufacturers, granted, we're not going to be like, Nike. We don't have the budgets to hire Michael Jordan and all sorts of great athletes, so on and so forth. However, it doesn't mean that we have to be boring. It doesn't mean that we can't be creative. It doesn't mean that we can't make it all about our ideal clients and just have fun with it. Get a little bit more, a little creative.
I think the fun is where it's really at. I mean, there is one company that I get an email from every single day, and I don't put it on unsubscribe, and it's Duluth Trading, because they are saving. I mean, okay, first of all, if you're a dude and you haven't laughed at their underwear commercials, I don't know what's wrong. I don't know what's wrong with you, but I'm sorry, your funny bone is gone. But like you said, it doesn't have to be crazy. It doesn't have to be multi-billion-dollar kind of strategy. It's just about sharing people and real life, and how, why you're doing what you're doing, that, and how that benefits, how you bring them in and let them feel how you can be a part of it when you're with us.
Being human.
Yeah.
That's what I tell clients all the time, be more human. And that brings up something that I thought of that I wanted to share. There's another disorder that plagues many brands, and it's NPD, non-personality disorder. And what does that mean? It's when a brand is, number one, they haven't defined their personality, right, in their brand guide, which they don't have either. So they don't know who they are as a brand, what their personality is, their voice, their style, their tone. And so everything that they put out into the world, it kind of sounds robotic. Mm-hmm. It's usually about them, but there's no flavor. You don't know it's from them. Think Target. When my kids were little, they see a Target commercial before the bullseye shows up at the end. Right in the beginning, they're like, "Oh, Target." Right. Okay, that's what we're talking about. Duluth. You get something from them. They have a style. They have a voice, right? So are you irreverent? Are you funny? Are you damn funny? Like, but like, take a stance. Have a personality. Don't be afraid. It's funny. Like, talk like a human too. Right. Use, why am I drawing a blank? Instead of you have, right. You've, like,
oh yeah,
we have, we've, like, right. Write like you talk. Right. And that doesn't have to mean like, the way kids text and they don't spell properly and use good grammar, like, not that, because that drives me nuts. But like, talk like a person and talk like your customers talk. That's the other thing.
The funny thing about that is I do it because I grew up in the big farm, right? I can't help it. And I was talking to somebody the other day, and they just fell over laughing. They were just belly laughing. And I'm like, what did I just do? And I used one of my euphemisms or whatever. I said something about, being in a creek and not knowing where you're at. I forget what it was. It was just one of those things that just comes up. And he just starts to laugh. And I was thinking about what you're saying. And it's really just letting your personality come out, letting your personality, but your whole brand personality. Mm-hmm. Because like you talked about Gerber, and Gerber they're kind of like, bring trouble on. We're going to have a little fun with it. That's what they're trying to show you, because that's the kind of brand they are. And Duluth Trading is like, yeah, we can make clothes like everybody else, but we're going to make them better. And we're going to make fun of why we make them better. Right. And it's so much fun if you do this as a manufacturer or as any company, to let that personality shine through, I think, because it attracts the right people. Gerber doesn't want someone that, and sorry if anyone's listening, they don't want the accountant in the room that's never got outside their office and hasn't got themselves, on the side of a, 1,000-foot mountain going, holy hell, why did I try this? Right. But that's what you want to try to attract the right people with it. It's the big ass fans example is perfect, I think, because you look at who orders that. It's the maintenance department person or someone that's building, the contractor that's building the place. And they just say, I need that big ass fan. Oh, okay. Look it up. How brilliant is something like that when it's simple and effective?
Well, and the thing that, like we talked about, Kerry Smith, the thing that he did was he took the risk. Yeah. I think most of us feel afraid, and we're afraid to own that thing that could offend somebody.
Yeah.
So we tend to just keep it vanilla. And I can honestly tell you, look at every brand that that's beloved. They took some kind of a risk.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to encourage manufacturers to don't be a me too. There's only one of you.
Mm-hmm.
That's the unique story that you have to tell. And nobody else helps your customers just like you do.
Right. Yeah. And you do a phenomenal job with, you and I worked on a project together, and I love what you said, boy, you're doing a nice job with your marketing, but you're whispering. Remember that, you're whispering, And so share a little bit, if you could. I learned so much. It was like a professor was in the house, Allison. So your empathy chart, empathy map, if you will. So again, like, you aren't talking the talk, you are walking the walk, making that emotional connection. I know we're at the top of the hour. For anybody on, we are with Allison DeFord, man. Connect with Allison on LinkedIn, check out her podcast, shoot her a LinkedIn connection, shoot her some love. But just share a little bit for those aren't familiar with the empathy map, if you could, Allison. Talk about how that is such a I can't overstate what a powerful experience and what a powerful tool that is.
Yes, the empathy map is something that we developed, and it's got pieces of your brand pie, right? And we'll run a client through this and say, all right, what are people hearing about you right now? What are people seeing from you or about you? How do people feel? And what are the pain points or gain points about you?
Or gain points. I like that. Yeah.
And it's very eye-opening. I've taken myself through the process. There were many bricks to the head, and you realize that, and you say, well, how do you find out? Well, thank you, internet. It's pretty easy. You either ask your customers, which is the best way. The second thing you can do is simply do that research and see how people are talking about you.
Right.
And it makes a huge difference, because without empathy, you're missing that pivotal part of the brand strategy and the marketing strategy.
Right.
Because without empathy, that's, I don't know, that's part of where you get back into the Weewee Syndrome.
Right. Exactly. So if you don't mind, I do this every time, but whenever I'm with Allison, I have to drop a quote of yours, Allison. Do you mind? I'm going to drop a little quote. So again, LinkedIn success relationship here. We are besties, man. You're just, man, you got me. You had me at hello. You remember that post? I don't know if you want to talk about that post, but you had me at hello on that post. So Allison and I, we became fast friends. We're going back and forth. You and I had never spoken. And man, we're talking about all sorts of diseases. Maybe we should be in the medical field. There's this awful, there's another dreaded, awful disease. You labeled it. It's. I don't know if you guys suffer from this. It's called best kept secretism. Does anybody suffering from best kept secretism?
I've heard of that.
There's this goofy dude. He's writing a book, and he sends this note to this woman, and he says, "Hey, I'm writing a book. Could you give me this friend found a blog post of Allison's, and it had this amazing quote. And so he goes to Allison and says, hey, could I take this quote and put it in his book? And I'm going to read that quote to you guys. Do you remember this quote, Allison? I'm going to read it to you. So, okay. Staying relevant and profitable today requires three things: continuous self-disruption, reorganization, and strategic communications. Continuously innovating and keeping pace with how customers search, purchase, and share. To avoid falling into the abyss, savor that. To avoid falling into the abyss of mediocrity, or God forbid, extinction, manufacturers must do something they've always resisted in the past. That's from Allison DeFord, founder and trailblazer at Felt Marketing. Allison, man, drop the mic. I love that quote. I love reciting that quote. What was in your mind when you put that out there? Like, did you have a customer in mind? Was it your career? Like, what inspired you to drop that powerful statement?
I think it was a mix. I think it's interesting. There have been people that I've worked with in the past, And you realize you're not the right fit when your vision for them and their company and their customers is greater than theirs.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not a put down, and it doesn't happen all the time. But when your heart and passion, and you can see, right, you can see like the end game. And like a coach, I can do the playbook and help you get there. But if you keep resisting along the way because you're afraid, they're not doing that. Competitors aren't doing that. So we might look weird.
Right.
Well, they're all blue, so we should be blue.
Right.
It's like this. So I think fear just gets in the way of this massive potential. And in this society, right, evolving at the speed of culture, if you don't get out of your own way, whether you're a manufacturer or any kind of company, I mean, myself included, you guys, any kind of business owner, if you don't get out of your own way and put yourself out there, try the new things, don't be afraid of change, you will become extinct.
Yeah.
So that's where that came from.
The abyss.
Well, and it is. You said this is something that I talk with people a lot about, is this extinction. They don't realize, because it's a slow progression. It's like dying the death of 1,000 paper cuts, right? It just is, because, and all of a sudden what happens are the manufacturers, especially in contract manufacturing, right? They don't think about this so much because they see somebody new coming into the market or whatever, or somebody's got something and they go, oh, well, they're trying social media, or they're trying this kind of thing, that kind of thing. They're digital this, digital that, but we've got this solid customer base and we don't do business like that. And then the next thing you know, they go, oh man, it's that customer that we used to have is not ours anymore. It's theirs, because there's some new people that came around and they got them. And then you go, well, and then they've got these customers we didn't realize, but they were on our target list, and they got them because they engaged with them. It's like, this is a slow death and this is the challenge that we face as we talk to executives in manufacturing, is like, it's a death that's coming that you don't even know it's coming until it's too late. But we have to keep talking about it. But these manufacturers, the people that are taking the initiative and having fun with it. I just love seeing what they're doing.
Absolutely.
It's so much fun.
And you're seeing it more and more. And I think, whether we say due to COVID, because of COVID, thanks to COVID, however you want to phrase it, I think a lot of manufacturers, and we're seeing it here on LinkedIn, amazing innovation, amazing creativity. Again, like Damon, we've been so fortunate, blessed. We had our mutual dear friend, if he's with us today, Val Weber at Manufacturing, man. I mean, like, she is a perfect example. Our buddy Dan Bigger is just absolutely relentless. So, I mean, we are seeing it more and more, and this is becoming the norm. I think the folks that are, more resistant. So I think embracing it. Allison, you talk about like consistency, adaptability, longevity are 3 key components. You also shared like 5 steps. I don't know if you remember those 5 steps. Can you share with our crowd, what are 5 steps to really start smashing their goals for 2022?
Yes. Well, number 1, you've got to figure out why. Got to figure out why. It's more important than the numbers. Mm-hmm. And you've got to make your customer the hero of the story. So that's number 1. And your goal, I would encourage you to stop, what's the right word? Stop being okay with just ROI.
Stop being okay. You know what Dan Bigger says? If you don't mind me saying it, he says, I'm not okay with being okay. Right. I love that line. I'm not okay with being okay. And you just see, and he just walks the walk. Just very inspiring. So I just wanted to share that one as you were saying that.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. And that's the thing, is if you're just okay with ROI, you're leaving so much on the table.
Yep.
And what I mean is, let's go for ROI Cube. I've been talking about this for years. Return on investment, return on influence, and return on innovation. That's what I talk to people about when they say, well, we're a manufacturer, or should we really be on social media? And I said, well, if you're not, then you're not part of the conversation, because it's happening with or without you.
Exactly.
So you either jump in and be part of it, or you go sit on the sidelines as everyone passes you by.
Right.
So ROI Cubed is for sure. And that's part of that payoff for, spending time and money on social media, on anything digital. It's being part of the conversation. 2, you've got to have a strategy. People, you make these big plans and you make this long convoluted thing, and then it ends up in a PDF somewhere in your computer and you forget about it. Start with strategy. It is everything. It's the plan. And then you've got to break it down and keep it simple, simple and fluid, so that it's adaptable. Because just because you started it in January doesn't mean it's going to look exactly the same in June. You're probably going to need to adapt. So make sure that it's adaptable and that you are as well. 3, you've got to have substance. If you don't focus on content and your substance, it's like baking the most beautiful cake anybody's ever seen. And they think, oh my God, I'd pay so much money to have a piece of that cake. And then they cut into it. And I swear to God, I used this in that Temple University presentation this week. It reminds me of Chevy Chase in Christmas Vacation when he cuts into that nasty turkey, and it goes, and everyone's like, oh my God. Besides Cousin Eddie, who will, lick the bones. But yeah, without the substance, you're serving up some of that nasty ass turkey, and nobody's going to want seconds.
Yeah.
So don't do that. And what do I mean by content? Some people think it's just the words that you use. It's the words, it's the visuals, it's how you show up, it's how consistent are you. Do you show up once a week on social media? Because I'm here to tell you that's not enough. The algorithm's going to go, who? And you're going to go straight down to the bottom. So consistent, relevant content that speaks to and gets to the heart of your ideal customer is essential. You've got to tell a more compelling story, and you've got to show them their transformation state. And then the last thing is to be consistent, to adapt along the way, and because this is about longevity. This is a long game.
Yep.
It's a two-way conversation, right? Social media is not like, hey, we'll show up intermittently when we feel like we have something to say. No, you show up even when you don't have anything to say. And it's hard. But sometimes you just show up and listen. And that's where you get the gold, So there's, like I always say, there's no secret sauce. There's no magic wand. And there are no shortcuts. You've got to show up. Like Seth Godin talks about this all the time. Show up and show up and show up.
Yeah.
Right. And be authentic with heart. And then you got to measure and adapt along the way and make those adjustments, which requires change and then repeat. Right. So it just keeps cycling through.
Yeah.
And don't forget to nurture your customers, right? It's not just about the getting. You got to focus on the giving. It's like, I call it the circle of life for your customers. It's not a funnel. It's a circle.
Yeah.
And it's like the Hoberman sphere, right? So if you've got these disconnected, like what if green was missing on this? It's not going to be a sphere that's going to like roll down a hill and gain momentum. It's going to be clunky because it's like missing a whole part. So it's going to go kun 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 kun. So create that connected system, that connected experience for your customers. That's how you're going to crush your goals 2022.
Man, moment of silence.
Yeah.
Moment of silence. It's lunchtime over here on the East Coast. And
Be a warrior.
So we have a couple things that we're going to wrap up with. So first off, thank you. God bless you. We love you. You are just amazing. You are such an incredible blessing to Damon, myself, and so many others out here in our LinkedIn sphere. our world. You make our world a better, brighter place. I love your text messages. And God, forgive me. Sign up for Allison's newsletter. If you want one of the funniest pieces of content online, you have to go to Felt Marketing, go to her website. I beg you, implore you, plead with you, sign up. I received your newsletter this Sunday, man. It makes my week. Love your newsletter. Check out Allison's podcast. So now, Allison, you were just holding up a friend of yours, and I see it in the distance as Wonder Woman. So we opened up the program with the letter B. In case I didn't mention, my wife is a preschool teacher, and she, we went through that. But let's say we're going to close out the program with the letter W. If I said the letter W to you, what are some words that come to mind? And what is that? Who is that character in the green behind you, next to you? Like, who is this? Can you introduce us to this gentleman?
This is Yoga Joe.
Yoga Joe, nice.
My new favorite obsession. And yes, I feel like today's episode was brought to you by the letter W.
Nice.
Be a warrior.
Be a warrior.
Keep it weird.
Keep it weird.
And stay wonderful, because it's a wonderful life.
That's and if Val's still with us at Manufacturing, that's what she talks about. Manufacturing. We're trying to keep it weird. We want to be like Austin, Texas. So,
yep.
Oh my goodness, Allison, you are just such a delight. You are an angel. Thank you for. I know you are super busy. We are so blessed. You are our first 3P on this program. Your first time, so you are a 3P.
Wow.
We need to have you keep coming back over and over. So,
well, at least this time I was invited, because for people that don't know, on one such Friday, I get a call from Curt. Hey, can you jump on a call with Damon and I? I'm like, yeah, I have time. Let's do it. So I get online and you go, oh, by the way, we're live. And I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, we kind of do that once in a while.
Yeah, we had a good conversation.
Yeah.
We had, so guys, let's wrap up on this. So first off, Allison, as you just found out, is absolutely amazing, brand guru, brilliant, hysterical, courageous. She's an awesome mom. I had a great conversation with you and your college senior, Dre. She's graduating from Indiana University. She's a Hoosier, graduating in May. So she's moving on to exciting new things in her life. And so, Allison, parting thoughts, parting words that you want to leave everybody with as they go off to smash it in 2022.
Wow, there's so much I could say. I would say clearly, remember, you can do hard things. That is straight from Glennon Doyle. If you haven't read her book Untamed, I highly recommend it. Keep doing hard things, and don't be afraid to show people who you really are as a person, as a brand. I think the thing that I have learned in the last couple of years, and especially this year or this last 6 months, which has been some of the most difficult in my whole life, was to ask for help, and to also don't be afraid to let people see you. Like, just really show up as a company and honor the struggle, Don't not talk about the hard things, talk about them, and do it with heart. So like I always say, the most beloved and successful brands aren't just seen and heard, they're felt. So make that emotional connection. You'll crush it. You'll crush it in 2022.
Drop the mic.
No doubt.
God, what a great way to end. So, Allison, thank you. We wish you a magical, amazing, wonderful 2022. You deserve all greatness. So thank you for sharing your truth. Thank you for sharing your brilliance, your comedy, everything about you. So thank you, guys. Thank you for joining us today, everybody. Damon, let's go out and just crush it this weekend, guys. Have a killer weekend. Damon, take it away, brother.
Well, I'm gonna take it away here. The comments were going wild. I didn't want to stop because we were doing it, but hey, Ray started it off. We had John, we had Bonnie, we had Gail, we had Val. Greg Michaud is here today. Chris Harrington. I'm just going through. Kenneth, is here today. We had, and some people that I don't know them, but if you send me a connection request, I will connect with you. Nelson, Bryson, man.
Oh,
it's so
he's
many.
a manufacturing master.
Oh, awesome. So it's just good stuff. Thanks so much for being here today, everyone. Thanks so much, Allison.
Thank you,
And
guys. I love you guys.
it's awesome. And we will once again, our director is taking us out now. So yeah, thanks for putting up with us being a little goofy, but we will be back again next week and another show, another great guest. Thanks so much for being here, everybody, and we'll be back.